Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurudevaya Namaha. Very special Hari Om Namaste Sitaram, and welcome to all of you. When we were sitting in meeting this year to decide what to speak on this occasion, the president of our mission, Sri Ram Bihari Ji, suggested that we speak on Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which you will see put up on the screen here just now. It's there already, and which I'll be explaining today. The phrase Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means that the whole earth is one family. And I want to stress this word, earth. Please pay attention to the word earth. It will come up again. It is not merely the narrow or restricted idea of the brotherhood of man. That is only part of the equation. It includes the plants and the animals, the birds and the fishes, the sun and the moon, the earth and the celestial bodies, and all things and all beings, as Tulsidas Ji says, Gogo char jaha lagi man jai, wherever the senses and the mind can reach, all that thing is included in this concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The literal meaning of the word Vasudha is earth. It is not just human beings. We're not talking about just merely human beings being a family. We are talking about the entire earth being a family. It comes from the Maha Upanishad, and it says, Ayam bandhurayam neti ganana lahu chetasam udara charitanam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. Those of lesser understanding, the narrow-minded, consider some to be my people or mine, and others to be not my people. The noble, however, the magnanimous, and the intelligent ones understand that the whole earth is one big family. This verse hints at a comprehensive Hindu ideology which makes us seek the welfare of not only our little piece of earth and the people on it, but of the entire earth and all peoples and all things. It is a clarion call to nobility and the fullness of an all-embracing understanding, to rise from the doldrums of the disintegrated and selfish intellect to the magnanimity and illustriousness of the large-hearted, to see the interconnectedness and interdependence of all things in the universe. In short, it propounds a worldview that seeks not only to validate the natural plurality which exists in the world, but more importantly, to reiterate a right which every species and indeed every community has to perpetuate and to assert its existence and its right to exist. It is a social paradigm derived from a deep and spiritual understanding of the universe in which we live. The Hindu cannot seek power to the exclusion of others. It will be like taking care of the health of one of our legs to the exclusion of the other. When I marginalize any group, I deny part of myself. Not only am I tied to other people, but I'm also intimately connected to the entire ecological system, to every little brook, every bird, every wild animal, every plant and animal in the forest. I am intimately connected to all of them. The word Vasudha means earth. When we extract billions of barrels of oil from under the earth and we bring it to the surface, we leave a deep emptiness. We leave cracks and fissures beneath our feet. There will be repercussions for these things because I am leaving an emptiness in part of my own self. I am again forced to quote Chief Seattle of the American First People. He says, I am a savage, and maybe I do not understand how the smoking iron horse, meaning the train, can be more important than the buffalo that we kill only to stay alive. What is man without the beasts? If all the beasts were gone, men would die from a great loneliness of spirit. For whatever happens to the beast also happens to man. All are connected, he said. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons of the earth. The earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to the earth. Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand in the web of life. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. There is also in this verse, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, a stark contrast between what? Between Laghu Chetasam and Udara Charitanam. Laghu Chetasam is to be found in the first line, and Udara Charitanam in the second line. Laghu means small, chota. And Chetas means mind. So it refers to the small-minded, the narrow-minded. Udara Charita means broad-minded or noble-minded. Two world views are formed on the basis of these two words. One is a restricted, narrow, and self-seeking worldview, one which seeks its own welfare to the exclusion of others, and the other is an all-embracing, all-encompassing worldview that seeks the welfare of all beings and all things in the world. If we formulate, for example, national policies based on the former worldview, the narrow-minded worldview, then it leads to decadence and ultimate destruction for our society. We must continue to strive for policies to be formulated on the basis of the latter worldview, broad-mindedness, all-embracing worldview. It is my contention that democracy and capitalism, which are the natural orders of our society today, are both necessarily thrive on the former worldview, the narrow-minded worldview. At the center of democracy is the idea of popular rule, majority versus minority, us versus them, our party and their party. While in capitalism, it is my company outdoing your company for maximum profits. Workers versus management, investors versus the environment, and so on. In both the cases, it is about staying on top. In both the case of democracy and capitalism, it is about staying on top. How can one stay on top without outdoing the other, without standing on the other? The reality of Apan Jat, tribalism in Trinidad and Tobago. Where is this ideal envisaged by the rishis in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole earth being one family? And where are we as a nation today? We live in one of the most tribal nations in the world. In a 1971 commission on constitutional reform, headed by Sir Hugh Wooding, it was said, race is perhaps one of the most significant determinants of political behavior in Trinidad and Tobago. In paragraph 24, unquote. Tribalism is not adherence to one's tribe. That is absolutely fine. Tribalism is not adherence to one's tribe. That is fine. Tribalism is the adherence to one's tribe without allowing a place for other tribes. It is the marginalization, the trivialization, or the subjugation of other tribes. Then it is called as tribalism. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have two main tribes in that regard, the African and the Indians, which make up more than 80% of the population. The other small tribes make up the other 20% of the population. And Hindus have a regard and a respect for every little tribe, however small it will be, however small the number will be. I want to remind you that the two main groups in Trinidad and Tobago also sprang from cultures that intrinsically adhere to the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam principle. We had tribes, but long ago, we evolved out of tribalism. One of the best examples of Hindu history which demonstrates how we evolved out of tribalism was the pre-colonial arrival of Christians in Kerala, South India, way back in the 1st century. St. Thomas, the apostle, came to Kerala and was welcomed by Hindus. The social consciousness of the Hindu had already evolved out of tribalism and had learned to embrace the other. However, this great social paradigm of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam now lies buried beneath the cancerous colonial conditioning in our minds. Years of dominance by colonial religions and ideology, which have colonialism at their very root, have subverted the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam outlook from the minds of both Indians and Africans. And today, we act and behave only on the basis of tribalism. We have forgotten, long forgotten, the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam principle. And colonialism did not come to an end with the departure of the European powers. In fact, the British left only in body, but their legacy continues in spirit through our clothes, our religion, our etiquette, our economic order, capitalism, the social and political behavior, political institutions, and the system of governance, parliamentary democracy, enshrined in our constitution. The colonial mind has become so entrenched that it has become virtually impossible to see outside the restricted box of the colonial masters. Masters indeed they were, to have inflicted such an indelible scar on the consciousness of these two earth civilizations that we now fight each other to defend the master's ideology. The colonialists have no concept of Kutumbakam, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that the entire earth is one big family. If we are going to rediscover our oneness with each other and with the whole earth, we have to embark on a revolutionary program of the decolonization of the minds of both Indians and Africans. The colonialists still rule without their physical presence. Constitutional reform and the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. First, I must say that when I stand here as a Hindu and I suggest ideas for constitutional reform, from my worldview, you must understand that I am not resisting any one person. I am resisting the colonial mind that has taken us far away from ourselves. I am resisting the institutions and behavior patterns set up by others to which I am subjected against my will. I am resisting the archaic worldview that is set in divisiveness, oppression, subjugation, and or obliteration of anything or anyone who is different. I'm also resisting a constitution that was foisted on us and which certainly does not take into consideration the worldviews of all the people that constitute the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. From this point of view, it is not a constitution, but a map drawn by former rulers for us to follow. While it is an insult to my intelligence, it is also a clear indication of the thoroughness of the job done by the former rulers. A constitution should reflect the views and aspirations of the people who constitute the nation. You may say that our Constitution was drawn up by our first Prime Minister. I'm saying it was drawn up by one whose inside was dug out and replaced by British software. Independence should mean the right of a people to determine its own destiny. How can I determine my destiny if I am operating with your software? In such a state, it is even erroneous to say that I have rights, because my rights are subjected to the limitations imposed by a plan which you have worked out. Rights, mind you, are natural and inalienable. But again, it is the ingenuity of the massa to make me believe that I have rights when he has long gone but is still calling the shots through his system of divisiveness. If one looks even at the preamble of the Trinidad and Tobago Constitution, you will see what I mean. It says, whereas the people of Trinidad and Tobago have affirmed that the nation of Trinidad and Tobago is founded upon the principles that acknowledge the supremacy of God, faith in fundamental human rights and freedoms, the position of the family in society of free men and free institutions, the dignity of the human person, and the equal and inalienable rights with which all members of the family are endowed by their Creator. It starts, the preamble starts like this. It starts with the God concept, which means it recognizes the importance of religion. It is formulated on the basis of some religion. But the big question is, whose religion? The fact that it discriminates against atheists notwithstanding, it does not seem to understand or represent my religion well at all. We do not believe, to begin with, we do not believe in creation. We believe in manifestation. It means when the document was drafted, the Hindu was not consulted, but the Hindu's view was not taken into account. The Hindu would have raised some objection to the use of the word creator. It seems very clear from this that the Constitution was not drafted, but it was inherited. Creation is purely a Christian concept. Nothing is wrong with Christian concepts, mind you. It is okay. It is fine. If you are a Christian, that is. Clause B of the Constitution, of the same preamble, it is not called preamble in that document, but Clause B says, there should be opportunity for development on the basis of recognition of merit, ability, and integrity. While Clause C says, or asserts, our belief in a democratic society in which all persons may, to the extent of their capacity, play some part in the institutions of national life. Both these clauses have internal contradictions built into them. Clause C espouses a democratic society. And Clause B is saying that all of us can participate, or we have opportunity for advancement based on recognition of merit and ability and integrity and so on. You know, Thomas Jefferson said a very nice thing. Democracy is the tyranny of the majority. It is nothing more than an angry mob where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49%. My grounding in my worldview tells me that democracy espoused in Clause C cannot guarantee opportunity for advancement on the basis of recognition of merit, ability, and integrity, as envisaged in Clause B. Democracy cannot guarantee that. We see that from experience only. Mr. Kenneth Lala, in an article in 2006 in the Newsday, states that the Constitution leaves us with a legacy of race in politics and appointments to offices in public service and state enterprise. Race is the determining factor. So where has democracy protected opportunities for advancement on the basis of merit, ability, and integrity? Whichever party has been in power, it has always been putting our people in key positions. I'm not saying that this is wrong also. This is done in so many countries. It's done in the United States, big time. In a democratic state, it might be the only way for elected representatives to implement the policies for which they were elected. What I'm saying is that when dharmic ideals like equal opportunity or the building of a meritocracy, inclusion of all, and so on, are set out in the preamble of the Constitution, and the same Constitution advances democracy as the means for achieving those ideals, it is self-delusion. Democracy is not the tool that can achieve those types of ideals. I remember a wonderful story of a barber cutting a man's hair, I don't know if I told you this story last year, but if I told you, please listen to it again. A barber cutting a man's hair, and he looked out through his glass window, and he saw a little boy passing. So he told the customer, the barber told the customer, you want to see the dumbest kid in the world? Just watch this. The barber went by the window and tapped, and the boy looked, he called him, come. So the barber held in one hand 4 quarters, and in the other hand a $5 bill. So he asked the boy, which one you want? The 4 or the 1? Which one you want? The boy took the 4 quarters and ran away. So the barber told the customer, see, I told you, the dumbest kid in the world. Because this is 4 and this is 1, he took the 4 and he went away. The customer also was wondering, what type of kid is this, Anyway, after his haircut, the customer left and he went out down the street and he saw the boy coming out of an ice cream shop with an ice cream in his hand. So I stopped the kid and he asked, how come you chose the 4 quarters over the $5, man? What was this? You didn't realize that was a $5 bill and this is 4 quarters? Why did you choose the 4 quarters? He said, the day I choose that $5 bill, that day the game over. So the barber is thinking, that he is the dumbest kid in the world, but he doesn't know that the kid has been taking him for forever. That kid has taken him so many times. So that barber is what you call living in self-delusion. And if we draft a constitution that has the ideals that can only be met by an enlightened citizenry, which understands the Vasudeva Kutumbakam principle, and we try to achieve those same principles through the institutions of democracy and capitalism, we are self-deluded. We cannot achieve them. And so what is required is continued education of people, continued dialogue between ourselves to understand this principle and learn to embrace each other to achieve those ideals. The dharmic ideals espoused in the Constitution are only the wool pulled across our eyes to prevent us from seeing that the resultant system is meant to serve the divisive colonial worldview. We have put checks and balances in place, but they also form part of the wool that are pulled over our eyes. Even where there are mechanisms built in the Constitution to ensure checks and balances, like the Ombudsman, for instance, the Integrity and Equal Opportunities Commission, and all the powerful and the all-powerful God, the media. Even where these guarantees are put in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Shri Krishna says a most wonderful thing. He says, the lords can be bought. The gods can be bought. You serve the gods, and they will serve you. It is well known that media houses, who are supposed to be the watchdog of democracy, and on whom we rely to make democracy deliver its goods. It is well known, not only in this country, but everywhere, that media houses also support certain parties and certain groups. How are they going to be the watchdogs of democracy? How is democracy going to deliver all these great things set out in the preamble? It is not going to happen. Where does the solution lie? Or what are my suggestions? Well, I have a very easy answer, which will make my speech also very short. Why should I impose my views on you? Why don't we sit down? Why don't we talk? Why don't we discuss? Why don't we trash it out? Why don't we work it out together? Why don't we come to consensus together? Why do I have to impose my views on you? Or why do you have to foist your ideas and your constitution on me? That is not the solution. This principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is at the root of a Hindu ideology which states that if we are going to move forward as a nation, we have to come together and do it together. And one group should not be thinking that we are natural leaders and we are born to rule and others have to be subjugated and all that sort of thing. So, the Hindu ideology is built on this all-embracing message of the verse. My suggestion is that we should meet and we should see how we can move forward as one people, not only taking care of our needs as human beings, but taking care of our nation, taking care of the environment, taking care of all the birds and plants and animals, and taking care of all things in our country, Trinidad and Tobago, for our own welfare. As Ravi Bharati says, when we hurt someone somewhere else, and this is included in the principle, we actually hurt ourselves. So, coming together to work together for a better Trinidad and Tobago, with all of us leading and helping each other, not one group subjugating or suppressing any other group to move forward and to stand tall. Thank you very much.